What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. I want to start this video off by giving you a little bit of an advice, and that is always remember you're unique, just like everyone else. Just let that marinate. Just let that marinate for a while, okay? So, anyways, today we're going to be talking about testing out our application using a test unit. Jest. We're going to be using Jest. But before we even do that, in the last video I did mention we're going to fix this, and I hope you actually tried to take a stab at it. It was really simple. The issue we were having in the last video, if you exit out, nothing will show up, but obviously you want everything to show up if you don't have any dates applied. And the way I fixed it was that I just added an if else. If the filters.start date and filters.end date equals to null, then we should want to return the keyword, which is this input coming in here. So if we do it coffee, it will still spit out anything that has COFF, right? Else, if there is a date range, if both of them do have a date range, then we're going to return true for is date range and keyword, where this will be filtered. So if I go to January 1st to January 31st, I only get coffee. If I go to, let's go back, February 29th, we get both, which is what we wanted. So let's actually get into the video now about Jest. And Jest is a framework that we could use to actually test out our applications. It gives us a lot of things that we could use, and we're going to be talking about it, but I just wanted you to know where the where you could look online. If you just type in Jest JS, and then it'll be the first one, or you could just go to jestjs.io. This is where everything will you could actually look and see for yourselves what to do or what can you do. But if you're here, then we could actually start doing it, or you could actually learn from here. But I'm pretty sure you're gonna want to learn more. I'm just sorry about that. I'm just ranting. Let's stop. So the first thing we're going to be doing is new terminal, is adding yarn add the Jest, and I'm gonna save it as the def because we don't need it for our dependencies. I was waiting for that. While that's taking time, we are going to create a new folder. So let me just minimize these. Let me see. Get rid of source. No, we need source. Get rid of all these other ones. All right, inside of source, we're going to create a new folder called test. And the reason we're creating tests, because there's going to be more than one, rename. This file doesn't really matter what you name it, but the file, I mean the folder, it doesn't matter what you name it, but the files that you actually put inside this folder, it really does matter. Okay, so what we're going to be testing in this video is all of our, actions for expense. All of this we're going to be testing. Okay, we want to make sure that this is running smoothly and it should be doing what it needs to be doing. Okay, and this is just to give you an example of how easy Jest, or how easy to test your applications is. You shouldn't be afraid to actually use a testing frameworks. Okay, you should not be afraid. They're very easy to use and they're very helpful. So inside of tests, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this expense.test.js. Now this test.js is very important. You need to have this because Jest actually looks for .test.js files, so it knows that those are the files that we should be testing. Okay, now if you do a simple, now that we have it installed, right? Jest, where is it? Okay, it did install. So inside our package .json, we're going to create another script. So, and we're just call this test, and all we're going to be running here is literally Jest, and then -- watch. So that way, if we ever control save anything, it'll re-render the, so we don't have to keep on doing Jest all the time, like running this script. It'll just watch for it and watch for any changes, and then update by that. So now what we need to do is do yarn run test. And yes, it's going to watch for that stuff. And we should get some errors, or nothing actually, because there's absolutely nothing. We don't have anything. Yeah, we have errors because we don't have anything we're looking for. We're not looking for anything. Right here, as you can see, your test suite must contain at least one test. But look at what it's testing or searching. It's searching inside test expense.test.js, which is what we wanted. Okay. So now let's go back and actually start testing for some stuff. So first of all, we need to import all of our functions from and then I'm at actions. Oh no, the actions. Hold up, where? Action/expense actions. And we're gonna grab everything. So add expense, edit expense, and remove expense. These are the functions that we are going to be testing. And we actually pull those up so that way. So edit, remove, and add an expense. And we're gonna be doing remove and edit first because this one's a little bit tricky to do. So we're gonna just be testing for these two functions first. Now, I did do a video on testing on my Node.js. I'll have a video on the top right, the icon, or in the description down below, so that way you could see it. It basically takes you. We run through like a little bit. Screw it. You could just watch it. You could just watch it. All right. So Jest gives us methods or functions that we could use. And the first function we're going to be using is literally called test. Now what this function does, Now what this function does is literally it gives us two arguments. The first argument is our description. So we're going to add a description. So I'm going to just say should set up remove expense action object. This is what it should be doing, all right? Because we're going to be focusing on the remove expense first. And then the second argument is just a function, an arrow function, okay? And this inside of here, this is what we're going to be adding the logic of what it should be doing. So first of all, let's create a const to store the what is going to return, what remove expense is going to return. So we're going to create a const, and it's going to be called action, and we're going to set up to remove expense. And remove expense does require an ID, an object with an ID in it. So that's exactly what we're going to give it. So we're going to give it an ID, and it doesn't really matter what's inside of it. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to just do ABC 1, 2, 3. That is it. So once that's done, we could use action to actually see what we're going to get back, right? Because let's actually do it first, and then I'll explain a little bit more. Okay. So we're gonna see another function right now, and that is expect. This is new. It comes with Jest expect. And what expect does is actually tells us, hey, we expect action, this up here, dot to equal. We want it to equal, and then we give it what it should equal to, which in this case, when we get it back, we should get a type. We should get an object. First of all, we should get an object with type equal to remove underscore expense, right? And we should also get the ID back with ID being ABC 1, 2, 3. Correct? This is exactly what we should be getting back, because we're sending in an ID of ABC 1, 2, 3, and every time we send something, we get a type of remove expense and the ID that came in it, right? So when we send this in, we should be getting this back. This should be, you should know this already. We've already we did the functionality first, and then we're testing it, which is kind of backwards, but this is what, you know, this is true. So if you control save this now, look down here. We get one pass. Awesome. So let me actually walk you through what's actually going on. So the first function, we always do a test. This is what we're going to be testing. We're testing, and the first thing that test takes is a description and then a function of the logic that's what we expect. Okay, so the first one is description, which we already said should set up remove expense action object, which the action object is this, right? And then the second is a arrow function. Inside of it, we have the logic that we want. We're gonna get the action, whatever comes back, and we're just testing what this should be coming back. What should be coming back from this? And we expect it to give us an object with type remove expense and the ID of ABC123, since we passed that in. And we are, which is true. Now let's actually do another one, and we're gonna do the edit expense. This should be easy as well. I'm not gonna copy it. We're gonna do it by hand. So test, you could copy if you want. I'm not. And this one should set up edit expense action object. Okay. Our description, now our arrow function that will take in the logic. And in here we're going to create a const action. We're going to set that equal to edit expense. And what does edit expense need? It needs an ID and the update. Now remember, updates is an object. That's what we're passing in. So first of all, let's just give it the ID. Again, I'm going to use ABC123. You can use whatever you want. And then in the second argument, it expects is an object of all the updates that we want to do. For right now, I'm just going to do note. It could be whatever you want. Just expense update test. That's our note, and we want it whatever, right? It just expects two things: ID and an object of all the updates we wanted. Now down here is going to be exactly the same thing. We expect this action dot to equal an object with type equal to edit expense, and we expect our ID as well to be ABC123, and we also expect a updates property with our object inside of it, which will be, I'm just going to copy this because I don't want to write all that. Now if you control save this, we should get two paths, which is right. But to actually, it does check for nested notes as well, nested objects as well. So we could actually test that right now. If I do another T right here, if you control save this, it gives me one error, and it tells you exactly what happens. It says right here, hey, we expected JS expense update TT, and we expected this. Okay, I mean, we expected this, yeah. We expected a JS expense update TT, but we got JS expense updated with one T, which is right. We did expect this because this is what we're telling it. We're expecting action to equal this object right here, which is not, right? So if I put let me just get rid of this. The T right here, we get two passing, all right? It's honestly, JS is pretty simple to use, guys. It really is. Just read their docs and follow along, okay? And the last one we're going to be doing is add expense. So, okay, this time I am going to copy because I don't want to write this all down. Should set up add expense action object. But this one's going to be a bit different because add expense actually has two things going on. It has, if we pass in something, right? If we did pass in something, it should update the description note amount with the things that we passed in. And we also have a default, which is this, right? So we need to do two tests for add expense. This one is going to be values provided, right? So we're going to be testing for this one. Let me actually get rid of all of this so that way we don't get confused what's going on. Copy this, and we're going to do another test with default values. And this is what we're going to be testing, 2 of them. All right. So the first one, let's do the first one. We need to create a const with our expense data, and this is going to be an object of the data that we want to pass in. Remember, this is a test where we're going to be passing in values, and what we need to do is add a description equal to something. I'm gonna say coffee because I love coffee. We need an amount. This is an object. I don't know why I keep on doing the equals. An amount, and I'm gonna do 100, and then created at, and we're gonna actually install moment if you want. I'm gonna just install moment. Let's import moment from moment, and created at. We're gonna use moment for that. Oops, no, it's gonna be created at today. And then let's add a note. Love coffee. All right, we have our data that we're going to be passing in. Now we need to create another const. Remember, const action, and that's going to equal to add expense, and we need to pass in our expense data. Okay, now we expect the action, whatever we're getting back from add expense dot to equal, and this is where we're going to pass in an object. We expect it to equal an object with type being add underscore expense with an expense property, and I'm just spread out the expenses up above expense data, and the reason I say this is going to be tricky is because right now our expense data or our add expense always has this ID. It always has the ID, right? But the thing is that this ID always changes, and we don't know exactly what that ID is going to be in here. All right, and that's the tricky part. This is the tricky part. So Jest gives us another method that we could use, or another function that we could use, and we're gonna set that ID. We're gonna set that equal to expect dot any string. So this is basically saying that, hey, we expect an ID, and we don't really care what it is, but it has to be a string. So that's what we're expecting for ID. Let me put a comma right there. Now, if you control save this, we should have three passing. Well, 4, because obviously this was always going to pass because nothing's being in there. But yeah, we do have these passing. So now let's focus on our default values, which this should be extremely easy. I'm literally going to copy, well, basically all this. Copy. Oops. Paste that. And we're not going to be passing no data inside of it. And we expect action dot to equal an expense. And nope, that doesn't matter. We're going to get the ID to be any string. It could be anything. It just has to be a string. Our description is going to be just empty. Our note is going to be empty as well. And I forgot for moment and created at. What did we actually do for amount 0 and created at 0? Okay. Let me actually copy these. Amount being 0, and we want created at to be 0 as well. And this is what we expect. We expect an idea of anything that has to be a string, the description to be null, note to be null, amount being 0, and created at being 0. If you control save this now we get for passing. And don't worry guys, if something goes wrong, like let's say you do that and you don't know where it's at, obviously it will tell you what's going on over here. Where are we at? That's right, this it's always going to be true. Let me see, where are we at? Coffee. Let's actually go up here. Something, you don't know where this test is at. It'll tell you where it's at. It's saying right here, this is the error. Should set up edit expense action object, and it lives inside the expense.test, and this is the test that is failing, which is this one. No, up here. Yeah, this one, the edit expense, right? It tells you exactly what's going on, the error, what it is, and then the error, what it is, what's happening, why is it failing? All right, let me just control Z out of that, control save now. So you never have to worry, like if you do mess up somewhere, it will tell you exactly where you messed up and all that stuff. And honestly guys, that is it for this video. I just wanted you to get familiarized with Jest, because Jest is very important, or actually testing is important for your applications. We did this kind of backwards where, yes, not really backwards, it's just that you would create a function first and then you would test it out later on. And this is exactly what we did. And this is just the beginner's level, I guess, for testing. This is simple stuff. We only used what, three functions in here? Yeah, or two functions in one method. So an expect, test, and then .any for anything. But like I said, you should go back in here, like expect. Here's expect. We already used expect, and this is all the methods that we could use for expect. We could use to be truthy, to be null, to contain. If it's an array, we could expect an array to contain an item. All right. Yeah. And they also have one for test, the one we just looked at, globals. Let's go to globals. And this is all the stuff that you could do globally. Like, after all, this one we're going to be using. I know that for a fact. We're going to be using after all, after each. But these are also nice. And right here, look, check this out. In the side, God, over here, it says testing React apps, right? It actually has docs for testing React applications. And this is the one we're going to be heavily referencing. So yeah, because it gives us a lot of tree.props, so it actually has props inside of it, and we could actually test our components. Look at this, our links as well. So yeah, we're going to actually be using Jest for our React application. Now you can use other testing frameworks, and Mocha, Jai. There's a lot of other frameworks that you could be using, but Jest, I find it to be pretty helpful with React, because it actually has methods or functions specifically for React. So that's why I chose Jest, if you're just wondering. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope you actually learned how to use Jest a little bit. All you need to know for any basic thing is expect and test. That is it. That's the basics you need to know. You could get more complicated, as we will in the later videos. We're going to still keep on doing it because we got a lot of things to test out. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope that I encouraged you to start using a testing framework for your applications. It's not hard to use. It really isn't. And it's very valuable. So thank you, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.